Okay, kia ora and welcome everyone. My name is Katie Clark and I'm the Asia-Pacific University Partnerships Manager for Virtual Internships. First of all, welcome. Thanks for the time today as we look at transitioning to virtual delivery of NCP mobility projects and introducing virtual internships. I'd like to introduce you to our speakers today. First up, we have Dan Niven, CEO and co-founder of Virtual Internships, who's speaking to us from our head office in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. We also have Hitesh Chu, COO and head of North America for one of our host companies, A5E Consulting in India. We also have Steve McDonald, who's the manager of short-term mobility at Western Sydney University and program manager for Australian government mobility projects. So let's get started.
Thank you very much, Katie. My name is Daniel. I'm the CEO of Virtual Internships. I'm based here out of Vietnam. I will turn my camera off as well so that everyone can see the screen rather than my face. But good morning to everybody. Thank you for joining. And I know that time is relatively short, so I'll whiz through some of the slides going on right now, but also happy, of course, to answer questions at the end and if there is any follow-up thereafter. So first of all, I just wanted to paint a picture of the landscape of internships at the moment. Moving on to the next slide. I think what's been really interesting for us, and just for a bit of context and background, we did found Virtual Internships in 2018 with a vision that going forward with the world of remote working, we've been big proponents of the virtues of virtual internship programming. And I think one thing that's key to us as well, because we have a background on international in-person internships, is that one isn't a replacement for the other. What's really exciting for us is that they both offer different things, and it's all about increased optionality. So we're adding options to what students can do, and I think that's really important and a great part of the context of where we're at with this. So virtual internships are various names: remote internships, online internships, virtual internships, which is what we call it. I just want to go through some of the, you could call them pros and cons or threats and opportunities, or some of the differences between the different forms of internships. So hopefully everybody on the call is already a proponent of internships. They're very high outcome focused. And at the heart of it, they offer career exploration, hopefully direct industry exposure for students who are looking to get into a certain sector, be it finance, engineering, etc. Soft skill development alongside the practical nature of things. From the international perspective, we hope that there's intercultural fluency added to things. And at the heart of everything, boosting employability is obviously so important and so key to everything that we're doing with virtual and in-person internship programming. Of course, there are sort of threats, making sure that it's relevant to the focus of the student and the sector that they're working in, making sure that the supervisor is engaged, which is why it's great we have a supervisor on the call today, and helping students to unpack the skills gained and leverage and be able to articulate and understand what they've learned throughout the process. So digging a little deeper into the differences between the in-person internships, and again, my background is running internship programs, particularly in Asia, for over 10,000 students for a company called CLCC Asia. And we've got great experience of that. It gives great insight into the workplace on a day-to-day basis. They're actually in the company, which offers some great insights into what life is like there. It can often lead to a mixture of different projects. So whatever project the intern is working on, but also picking up some ad hoc tasks, which may be of interest. And we call it the sort of water cooler networking, being able to liaise and speak with somebody who you bump into in the office is a great virtue of in-person internships. Some of the challenges, which again is what led us to forming virtual internships a few years back, can be a lack of flexibility or convenience of doing an in-person internship, especially an international one. And much as we're all huge proponents of the virtues of doing an international internship, the reality is not everybody can go overseas to China or Japan or India or elsewhere to do an in-person internship. Similarly, the lack of accessibility for some of these programs and having to commute, so that can be challenging if it's alongside study, or there are other home commitments. And sometimes those ad hoc tasks can be a bit trivial in nature. So you'll want to avoid making coffee and doing photocopying, etc. Of course. That moves us on to virtual internships. We're huge proponents of it being project-based, so it's very important in advance. Sorry, just flicking back one. Very important in advance that the students are getting a project-based approach. They're learning digital skills, which are great for the future of work and the way the world is moving to, which has obviously been accelerated by the recent pandemic. And it's extremely scalable. So all those people who may not have been able to go overseas to do internships can still get a flavor of both an internship, but also do it in an international context, which we believe is great. Some of the things that we look out for is ensuring that the student will need to be independent and use their own initiative at times. We want to make sure that they can still network, which can be challenging, and also making sure that the student doesn't feel isolated with a virtual internship, which leads on to how we formed the program to mitigate this. In the past few months, including over the summer, we've had over almost 1,500 students on the program. And these are some of the things we do to mitigate any of those risks and provide a wonderful experience. So making sure that the intern is getting lots of individualized support and guidance. That's through a program experience manager who's there day to day to help the interns if they have any challenges in the workplace or throughout the program. Having a dedicated intern coach who speaks with them at a midpoint and endpoint, doing coaching calls to seeing how they're progressing in the internship. Making sure they feel part of a cohort and community through online programming and events, weekly Google Hangouts, fortnightly employability webinars with various speakers, an online curriculum that they're doing throughout the program called Career Bridge, which is based around 8 NACE competences, career readiness competences. At the heart of it, making sure that their internship is going well and is tailored to their needs. So we work with 3,500 host companies across the world. They're across 18 different career fields in 70 countries worldwide. Again, we have one of our host companies on the call today, which is wonderful. And again, really honing in on the project-based internships, which works very well with a virtual internships, making sure that that is part of it, and also that we incorporate a feedback loop. So making sure that the supervisor and the intern are speaking to each other on a regular basis and giving feedback to each other. Just slightly more visual insight into how the program works on the next slide. So it can be 10, 20, 30 hours per week, normally across 1 to 4 months. Alongside all the things that I mentioned, they will be doing the online course. They'll be doing 8 hours a month of the group discussion. They'll be getting the full-time program manager and internship coach. They can do 3 months of online language lessons in a language of their choice, preferably with the country that they're working in. And we're seeing really great outcomes, and we do have the data we can provide to anybody who's interested in a report. 82% feeling they've progressed in terms of their confidence in gaining meaningful employment, and 89% believing that they've now developed great remote working skills, which again reflect the think and make of the workplace in the world today. The 18 career fields that we have, you can see here. Again, we're happy to send through some of the most popular ones are business and finance at the top. Marketing, media, computer science, recruitment and HR, engineering, but really it does span 18 different career fields, and we're happy to adapt to each of them. We are really excited by the opportunity of working with NCP funding. The locations that we have do resonate very well and align with NCP funding. So we do have a lot of experience in China, India, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Taiwan, and Thailand. Which does align. And as said before, we do run programs across 70 different countries worldwide. And just for a few more specifics on the NCP programming, we are able to tailor a program or a cohort to a specific location and a specific career field, which is the beauty of having run this at scale for several years. We are able to work with university partners, and we have partners around the world to create customized recruitment information sessions and NCP orientation sessions to help universities better understand the process for applying or working with NCP funding. Our program fee is reduced because we want to work with universities again and fit things and align things with NCP funding. So it's a 1,500 Australian dollars university fee. It's a flat program fee regardless of duration. And we do have start dates every 2 weeks. So we are looking forward to working with students over the summer session or in semester one. And again, that can be those 10, 20 or 30 hours per week programs. So I'm excited to hand over to Steve McDonald, who we've known and worked with for several years, who will go into a little bit more detail about NCP delivery and funding.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, my name is Steve McDonald, so I'm the Manager of Short-Term Mobility at Western Sydney University, so thanks for joining us today. So as we are already aware, the Australian government has permitted online delivery for NCP projects. So this includes the current projects where experiences are reinforcing people-to-people institution and business linkages between Australia and the Indo-Pacific. It is hoped that the virtual programs will increase diversity and participation by students whom international travel traditionally in the past presented a challenge. But it is also noted by the Australian government, well, they have actually emphasised that immersive in-country experiences are the preferred method and hallmark of the new Colombo Plan. So the virtual model of delivery will continue for approximately 18 months pending a review, which I'll talk about in a sec as well. So the actual types of projects. The Australian government is encouraging unis to look at innovative ways to actually deliver NCP projects. The types of projects may include, but not limited to, is what we call COIL, which is like collaborative online international learning. So that's like the co-development of a shared syllabus by 2 or more instructors, for instance, say from an Australian university and a Japanese university. There's also OIL, so that's online international learning. That's like, for instance, an online summer school at a partner university. There's online instructor-led programs. So that's where a lecturer from a university leads an online study tour. For instance, this can be customised by a provider to incorporate workshops and classes on culture and presentation by local experts, universities, governments and businesses. And there's also work integrated learning, of course. And they're more innovative programs that enable students to actually collaborate on projects that solve real life business problems, working with partner corporations in the Indo-Pacific. And then the next part, of course, is there's online internships and practicums, which we are actually discussing today. Now, with respect to funding, as a guide, so is there actual, sorry, there's a slide on funding at all? There it is. Okay, thank you. As a guide, the indicative grant recommended per student is outlined in the following in this actual table here. As you can see by the actual 3 columns there, one is the actual duration or the actual type of experience, such as the summer school or faculty-led programs, and then there's internships. And this is basically what the government has actually suggested. But the important part is a university may provide smaller grants to a larger number of students, which allows more students to participate up to the approved grant amount. For instance, some projects may have received, for instance, $30,000, and that usually meant about $3,000 on a short program per student. Now that means, for instance, you might be actually spending it on 15 students instead. But the important part is also students must actually receive the same amount of funding each. For short term, only one type of online program can be utilised for an existing project, for instance, COIL or internships and practicums. For semester, that's different again. This can be a combination of virtual programs, for instance, a semester exchange and an internship and language training all together. Okay, variations also, to actually vary an actual existing project. The NCP Secretariat will consider project variations on a case-by-case basis, which includes changes to the host location and experience types within reason. They're very flexible. Variations needs to be clear and concise and generally no more than 3 paragraphs. But you just need to actually have a clear justification and itemise the actual costings. And please seek further advice from your new Colombo Plan institution liaison officer about submitting project variations. For Western Sydney University, for instance, that's me. And another part that's actually really important is also compliance. It's the same as an ordinary new Colombo Plan program. For instance, the student eligibility, you must be an Australian student, be undertaking a bachelor or honours degree, be given academic credit, or the activity must count towards the actual course requirements. And 70% of the students that are participating must be between the ages of 18 and 28. a student may participate in a virtual project in addition if they've already actually received, for instance, previously a grant for short-term or a semester-length NCP project. Similar to standard programs as well, the Australian government must be acknowledged in all publications, promotion materials and activities related to the NCP. After finishing the program, universities are also required, of course, to actually submit a completion report. There may also be other requirements, so again, please actually check with your institution liaison officer. What I've actually got here is also some really quick frequently asked questions, just to preempt anything. So some of the questions I get asked is, do I have to change my NCP project to online delivery? Well, the answer is no. You are permitted to keep your current project. However, please be aware that the deadline for delivering completion part, if it passes, the funding may have to be returned to the government. As an insight, the Australian government handed down a federal budget on Tuesday night, and the economists forecasted that a successful vaccine would not be rolled out across the Australian population until at least late 2021. So that's something to think about. Can you change the host location? Yes. Existing mobility projects can be varied and delivered in a different host country. Will online delivery be an option for future rounds of the NCP? Maybe, maybe not. Because a hallmark of the NCP is the opportunity for immersive in-country study experiences. The current arrangement agreed by the government is to offer online programming as a temporary measure, but there will be consultation with universities on lessons learned in about 12 to 18 months about virtual projects. So what's the easiest method for implementing an online project? Recently, I drafted guidelines and a workbook for developing a COIL to deliver an online project. It's really complex and work intensive. Being honest, the simplest method for delivering an online project is to utilise an existing provider such as virtual internships. They have the expertise, framework and support that is required for quickly developing and delivering a project. So what do you do next? The process may vary across universities. However, for instance, at Western, it's best to engage and conceptualise your project with virtual internships, for instance, and keep your ILO informed about your intentions. And eventually the ILO will have to actually submit a variation on your behalf. In addition, the ILO will discuss other compliance measures that still need to be completed, such as the risk assessment, even though it is online. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve. That was wonderful and really informative. And alongside, we have various stakeholders in this whole process. Of course, there's the student, there's our university partners, and there is also the host companies that we work with, all of whom play an extremely important role in getting these programs correct. So just a brief insight into our host companies and some of the outcomes we've been learning from working with our host companies. So we do survey our companies to see why they're taking on interns. And three of the main reasons we got were they have projects that they want completed and they believe in the talent of virtual interns. They want to create a talent pipeline, so a view to potential full-time employment further down the line if the intern really performs and is great. And a lot of companies, and 92% of the companies said that they want to also give back, giving back to students, young people who are looking to improve their professional development. 80% as well said it's a great opportunity to exchange cultural knowledge, in particular with virtual international internship programming. 78% said that they would find it difficult to do the process without some support. And 72% interestingly said that they find it more manageable to manage and supervise a virtual intern than an in-person intern. I think maybe that comes back to the project focus that we encourage for virtual internship programming. So I'm going to, and I'm pleased to hand over to Hitesh, who is the CEO of one of our host companies, A5E Consulting, and would love to hear a bit about the company and about their experience of hosting some of these interns. So thank you, Hitesh.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. So A5E Consulting, firstly, you may like to know what is the genesis of the name. So there are 5 continents that begin with the letter A, the 2 Americas, North America, South America, Australia, Asia, Africa, and E stands for Europe. So the name actually resonates with the global aspiration that we have, and because by the virtue of operating across the globe, that's the name that we've chosen for ourselves. We are an end-to-end technology company with 3 lines of businesses. The first one being management consulting, where we help our companies, client organizations, laying down the technology strategy. We help them put together the technology roadmap, help them opt for the right technology alternatives. The second line of business in A5E is technology consulting. So we are an authorized SAP partner, we are an authorized Microsoft partner, we are an authorized Salesforce.com partner. We do large digital transformation projects. In the last 6 years of our existence, we've delivered more than 100 projects. Currently, so the slide says 250 plus consultants, but we are very close to touching the 300 mark now. We've worked across all continents, and we have delivered projects in 50 plus countries. Other than the 3 product principal partnerships that I mentioned of SAP, Microsoft, and Salesforce, we've also developed our proprietary products. So we have an end-to-end HR technology platform, which is branded as People Apex. We also have a loan management application for the banking and financial services domain, and we branded that as Lending Apex. And this really is coinciding with the Apex product family that A5E is building. Very quickly getting on to the virtual internships. It's a very common adage that awareness is the first step to change. However, what is more important, and I would strongly believe that the second step, which is admittance to this awareness for change, is even more important. Even before the pandemic, a lot of people were speaking about remote working and remote ability. However, the acceptability or the admittance to that kind of work pattern was very limited. Pandemic has forced and compelled people to adopt this change, and now this is really setting into the DNA of global economy. We've had 2 experiences, and as long as the boundaries of the project are well defined, as long as there is the right project tracking and the right governance mechanism, I strongly believe that this methodology of virtual internship is a win-win scenario, because as a student, you get the opportunity of working across geographies, across cultures, and at an opportune time when you also get the opportunity to travel, that brings about the right confluence of experiences. So we have had 2 very successful projects through CRCC. One was in the marketing function, the other was in technology. Let me quickly share with you the project in the marketing function was pertaining to a product launch that we've planned for US. The second project, which was in the technology area, was to work on advanced analytics and predictive analytics for our HR technology platform. And while we speak, both these projects have been concluded successfully, and I'm pretty satisfied with the way the delivery has progressed and the way the whole support and backbone system from virtual internships and CRCC was provided. So I would encourage all of you to move forward with this opportunity, because this would be an experience that would really go on to enrich your professional career and build you up for the corporate life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hitesh. That was fantastic to hear about the positive experience, and that you felt that the virtual internship sort of structure and support was really helpful when it comes to supporting a virtual intern from sort of anywhere in the world. Thank you also to Steve for a really detailed overview of NCP, and just as we move through the changes, I do know that at the moment they are very flexible when it comes to varying projects. So I think if you're ever unsure about something or you've got an idea, is just check in with them through your liaison officer and just ask. I think they really are really promoting that move to online delivery for the next 18 months at least. And thanks, Dan, just for a brief overview of the virtual internship program. So I'm kind of aware of the time, and we're trying to keep this short and sweet. It's Friday after all, and the sun's shining. So if we've got any questions, there's one come in. Thank you. So what does NCP virtual grant get spent on, given that no travel is involved? We have also another colleague, Gillian Lowe, who's our Chief Academic Officer. She's based in the States, and she is happy to answer the question for us.
Well, hello, everyone. I would be happy. So when you're looking at what does NCP grant get spent on when travel is involved, it does go beyond just the nitty-gritty of travel, of airfare, of housing, of health and safety. When you're looking at an international internship, it looks at the placement, the support, and the education. And so if the NCP grant is going virtual, while you take away the airfare and the travel and the housing and the health and safety in person, you still maintain the need for the educational support, the guidance, the potential placements, which is what virtual internships actually offers, as well as the health and safety oversight of a virtual experience. Because while you might not be having the same issues of stomach bug because you're in a new country, or the travel issues and health and safety, there is still an oversight and health and safety that needs to occur. So the spending on the NCP virtual grant when you're working with a provider is to really add the extra scaffolding and support to a virtual internship, the guaranteed placement and alignment to your NCP grant given the location and the major that you are trying to support, and making sure that the student really has that 360 roundabout support to really nurture the experience regardless of it being online.
Thanks so much, Gillian. That's a very detailed, amazing answer. So, and at the moment, we don't have any other questions coming in. So I'll just give you a few seconds if anyone has anything else to add. Otherwise, I want to thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. And this is just really sort of step one of moving into that online delivery for NCP projects. So another question, can this be used for overseas partners to prepare a video record in their clinical environment? Steve, this might be something that you could answer.
That's a really good question. It is about the administering the actual project itself. So with respect to I would actually say that actually is also everything with respect to the entire actually running of the actual program is counted within the actual the amount of funds that you actually spend. So for instance, a provider as well looks after everything that's around it. Say for instance, an academic staff member, which I was talking to one today as well, was what it is also you're handing across a lot of the administration to the provider as well, so they can actually organise everything also with overseas, say, institutions or in the actual workplace and that as well. So they're doing a lot of the actual groundwork as well, so that your role as academic staff as well can be a little bit more relaxed as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Another question, thank you, from Nicholas Shepherd. Do virtual internships attempt to provide any sort of cultural immersion to replace what might be gained from actual travel? Gillian, are you happy to answer this one?
Yes, of course. So when looking at virtual internships, the simplest answer is that a student won't get the same experience as walking down the cobblestone streets of Italy or going on a tuk-tuk in Thailand, and there is no way to directly replace that. But what they will get in an international virtual internship is, one, the support of working internationally. So they are still going to be working with the culture that your NCP grant is really designated to in the country, and that our curriculum, which is a wraparound professional development curriculum, will address whether it's a collectivist culture, a vertical hierarchy, working in China versus working in Japan. We'll really kind of discuss that. Our Rosetta Stone is also there to allow allow that student to get 3 months of language training. And while the student isn't really supposed to walk away being fluent, they are supposed to be able to walk away understanding a little bit better of the nuances that are within the culture explained through the language, and the ability to say hello, goodbye, and really connect on a deeper level with their supervisor in the language of the supervisor's country. So our cultural immersion really comes in those 3 parts. 1, just the placement itself. 2, the career bridge and our online curriculum that walks them through professional development as well as global professional development. And 3, the Rosetta Stone. Outside of that, we do weekly checkpoints with all interns, and we do weekly chats that all students can join, and they're going to get a cultural immersion different than their host company, because they're actually going to be liaising with interns from around the world and hearing about their insights. And fortnightly, we do a global expert series webinar. So the students are able to join us and do a 30-minute webinar. The most recent one was 5 ways to make your LinkedIn profile to stand out. And some of these do touch upon global aspects, like how to start a global career, working in China, and whatnot. So we can really adapt these kind of webinars to meet your cultural aspects or immersion that are tied to your NCP grant.
I'll also like to add to this. There's one more aspect, and what we do is during the induction, there is a section of the induction for the interns which touches upon the cultural nuances. And we make it a point that all our virtual interns, as well as the virtual new joiners, people who join us across the globe, are taken through the cultural nuances and help get oriented towards what is acceptable, what is not, what are the typical ways of working, what is it that would help them make their way through in a conversation dealing with Indians or with Americans. So these are aspects that we cover during the induction.
Thank you, Gillian and Hitesh. We've got another question coming from Shane. Is an NCP project with Fijian languages, is the language component through Rosetta Stone possible? Gillian.
Shane, I would love to give you a definite answer right now, but that is something I would have to check before I say anything. So please do follow up, and I will make sure to follow back up with you as soon as I converse with my Rosetta Stone contact. Just double check the languages available. I do know that virtual internships, when vetting a language provider, picked Rosetta Stone just because of the immense and vast language opportunities there, but I don't want to overpromise anything. So I'll definitely double check to ensure that it does have alignment with your NCP grant.
Thanks, Gillian. So I think that's our last question for today. So I want to thank you again so much for your time today. I think it's been really great just to start this discussion and to have the team on hand to answer questions. So next steps from here, as promised, I'm going to send out a copy of the slides, a recording of the presentation. The slides also do include a detailed overview of the types of projects that are also available within each of our 18 career fields. We're going to do a quick summary just of the 10 key points from this presentation, and also really happy to follow up if you'd like to find out any more about the program, about how it might work for your current projects. Really happy to book a call with faculty members, with Mobility Office, run any info sessions for students. So I'll follow up with each of you individually. But thank you again, and I really hope you have a wonderful Friday and enjoy your weekends. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to Steve and Hitesh for really great insights. We really appreciate them today. So thanks again.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Thank you.
We'll just end the meeting now.